Things got a little spicy at last night's State of the Union. A C-SPAN camera caught an exchange between Senator Mitt Romney and Congressman George Santos. And though it's inaudible, a CNN reporter tweeted that Romney told Santos, quote, "You don't belong here."
Reporters hounded Romney after the address and asked his thoughts about the embattled congressman, and here's what he said.
He shouldn't be there. So can you repeat that? Why don't you think he belongs there, sir? You said he's a sick puppy? What do you mean?
No, I didn't say that to him then.
But that's what you say now.
You just said you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Why did you want to say that to him?
I didn't expect that he'd be standing there trying to shake hands with every senator and the President of the United States. Given the fact that he's under ethics investigation, he should be sitting in the back row and staying quiet instead of parading in front of the president and people coming into the room.
Did he have a response to you?
Look,
did he respond?
He says that he embellished his record. Look, embellishing is saying you got an A when you get an A minus. Lying is saying you graduated from a college you didn't even attend. And he shouldn't be in Congress. And they're going to go through the process and hopefully get him out. But he shouldn't be there. And if he had any shame at all, he wouldn't be there.
Santos didn't take too kindly to those remarks, and he lobbed a jab at Romney for his failed 2012 presidential bid, tweeting out, "Hey, Mitt Romney, just a reminder that you will never be president." Really taking the high road, see?
Respectability politics Romney is not a square I had on my bingo card this year.
He's really going for the respectability politics support. I mean, he does it well.
I mean, he seems genuinely offended that Santos would disgrace the institution with his presence, which, I guess I understand. It's just, you don't hear a lot off the cuff from Mitt Romney. He's not a guy who's just flying off at the handle and saying things that are inappropriate or, and it's just, it's interesting that he,
I don't know. I mean, he yelled during January
this.
6th, he yelled at, I think he was yelling at either Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley or something. He said, "This is your fault, guys. You did this."
It's the same thing.
And then he got up there and gave a speech saying this is all Donald Trump's fault, and I'm going to be happy to vote for his impeachment.
That's the exact same respectability issue, where he's protecting the integrity of the institution as he sees it against insurrectionists as he sees it. And it's funny if that's the thing that gets him riled up. I mean, we talk about this with Democrats all the time, that they care about procedure and decorum. And the thing that they really hated about Donald Trump was that he was impolitic and rude and embarrassing to the institution. And so many of us are on the left, we're like, that's the least of our concerns. We don't care if someone's rude or bawdy, or they didn't like Bernie for the same reasons, right? He didn't wish people happy birthday. He didn't, wear the right kind of suits. He was slouchy in his sweaters, all those kinds of things. But people love a certain kind of authenticity, but it's weird for the genuine, sincere outpouring of emotion to come over protecting the institutional rigor. And it seemed like what he was really offended by was George Santos trying to shake hands with Biden.
I mean, I don't know if it's just about, I hear you on, the sanctity of the process and that all gets very obnoxious. They're out there, they're violating our rights, they're voting to do ridiculous things.
They put their feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk?
Right, who cares about all that? But I will say that there's something about so many of these characters, you wouldn't hire them to man the cash register at your grocery store. They're utterly untrustworthy, unscrupulous people, and yet they're representing millions of people in this country. And that is kind of offensive, that the most crooked, corrupt, I mean, Santos is exceptional only that his lies are so hilarious and exaggerated and obvious, but we've talked about all the misconduct, all the financial misdealings, all the enriching that is part of the institution that should be criticized. But at some point, it feels like these are the worst of the worst. And so I appreciate Romney calling out.
But that's kind of my point. I think the opposite is true. Sorry, I keep calling him DeSantis. Santos's crimes are so much smaller than the average crimes and theft by people in Congress. He was charged with some kind of larceny in Brazil or whatever. What did he steal, a few $1,000s? There's people in Congress who've been fleecing the American people for millions of dollars for decades. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi and the rest of them doing insider trading.
Well, that's what I was just saying.
No, but the frustration is that DeSantos is the one that's attracting all this ire, even though his crimes are so much smaller in scale. They're weirder. They're more personal, but they're smaller in scale than the average crookery that goes on in Congress. So, Mitt Romney, I appreciate you got to be in your bonnet, but where is all of this energy when it comes to the Pelosi Act, the Stop Insider Trading Act, or some of these?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what he said on that. He might support it. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if he had erupted on the House floor or in the halls of Congress talking about how unconscionable insider trading is and how Nancy Pelosi doesn't belong in Congress, we would have had a news cycle about that. But, that ire is being reserved for George Santos. Again, not to say that he doesn't deserve it.
But he's politically savvy, too. He earns himself a lot of plaudits from, maybe not from the left, but from Democrats more broadly and from the media, et cetera. A lot of it is the respectability type stuff. But it's just... It's funny that given the political route, overall, he would probably have one of the highest favorability numbers for any Republican, not among Republicans, but among the general population. But he could never get to a general election. He is too toxic to the concerned parties voting in the GOP. So it's just kind of interesting how he would be a very popular general election candidate, but it could never happen again because of the realities of the partisanship in both parties.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, look, it was closer than we remember in 2012.
2012 was a little closer.
If he didn't put his foot in it in a couple of big ways, the makers and takers remark, the binders full of women, although that wasn't even that crazy. The media just kind of ran away with it because they were...
Oh, that was a non-controversy. That was so stupid.
Non-controversy?
Yes.
Is that of your coinage, or is that just one I haven't heard yet?
That's a Robby word.
Nice.
It was so dumb. And he was running. Barack Obama was, one of the all-time great campaigners. So he was up against the king, and he did pretty well.
It was what it was.
And it was a hard time. Things were generally okay. By today's standards, things were very okay.
It was interesting. Occupy was happening.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting foil for someone like Romney, right? So, I think Barack Obama was getting some juice from this idea of there being an economic populist revolt, even though, he wasn't really on their side either. But in contrast to Romney, who was, a Bain CEO, who was pictured with all the bags of money in the lobby of the very institutions that had just caused the financial crisis, it was a tough political context.
Well, and he picked Paul Ryan for his VP, who was the leading voice for this whole cut entitlements thing, which Trump showed the Republican Party is not politically popular.
Right. And it's worth noting that Bernie Sanders did float a little run in 2012 because Barack Obama also had threatened to cut entitlements and said he would run if Obama did do that.
I mean, I think a Romney campaign that ran on issues that were a little closer to Trump, especially on entitlements, but had the temperament of a Romney would have been extremely formidable. That would be extremely formidable still.
Yes.
It's just that the people who have whose policies match the political demand tend to also have these kind of obnoxious personality traits that make them, or they're so deferential to the election stuff. Your Blake Masters, your Carrie Lakes, your Doug Mastrianos, that they can't get elected.
I've had a front seat at the table where the American people have been screwed for decades. I've seen exactly how corporations preserve benefit for themselves at the expense of the American people. And, I'm ashamed on some level to have been a part of it. But because I know how well that works, I want to be prepared to use those skills to fight for the American people.
That was, right. That's the less crude version of Trump's pitch, which is I know how badly y'all have been getting screwed. I've been participating.
I was screwing you. Yeah, for sure. Well, we're rising.
More rising after this.
Yeah.